Hey everyone, this is video log 5. I am on my way to work and I was a little reluctant to do this video right now because I feel a little bit triggered and frustrated. But as part of my commitment for authenticity, I'm just showing up with what I got, and I can put that on hold for a little bit, or I can just be with that here, whichever. Eventually I'm going to get into conversations where these are more cohesive. I'm going to actually start editing my videos and just making them more, I don't know, presentable, I guess. Or I guess it would be more user-friendly or more geared towards people really enjoying the videos. Like there would be, you know, music and intros and all that stuff. I think that's kind of far down the line. Just getting the material out is like where I'm at right now as far as priorities. But just sharing some future intentions. One of the things, so this is great. So the frustration, something that I notice a lot, and you know, maybe it's subjective, but something that I notice a lot is that for men in our culture, it's, well, let me change it up. It's my experience that when I don't feel 100%, or I'm not just good with everything, or something's bothering me, that oftentimes I invalidate my own feelings and say why I shouldn't feel that way. I make myself wrong for feeling the way that I do, and then it just gets suppressed because I have this idea and this standard of myself, this self-image, ego, that says I should be able to handle more. That shouldn't bother me. When the reality of it is that it does. And it takes some real work validating my own feelings in that way, because for the longest time the way that I had it was that you're either a man or, you know, you're a bitch, or you're a pussy, or you're a, you know, insert derogatory term, you know, like somehow you're not strong enough, somehow you're not, you know, man enough. And I'm really not interested in that. That's like so destructive. But there is that balance, you know, like it's important for me. Like complaining doesn't really get you anywhere. And if it does, you won't like where you end up. Excuse me. So there's this interesting balance of like, what can I hold and what can I endure, you know, for the sake of holding the space, you know, like being yeah, just providing that safety and security and all of that, you know, that I think is a big part of the masculine principle. Mind you, I'm not talking about specifically gender, though there is a bit of a disposition. I'm talking about masculine energetics. Yeah, so I was, you know, dealing with that this morning, just like, I know that there's some adjustments that need to happen. Like, I've been feeling this imbalance, like in the relationship, this work-life dynamic. And so there's a conversation, you know, I set it up, like, hey, let's have a conversation later this evening. And what started bubbling up was like anger and frustration. And almost every time I experience anger, it's usually because I'm either not doing something that I know that I should be, or that I haven't communicated something that I need to. And I'm sure that some of you could probably relate to this, is that oftentimes we just endure a lot of suffering because we're either too afraid, or we don't have clarity, or we think that we should not share what our experience is like and how we would like to adjust that experience. Meaning, like, say for example, you have a teammate and you and that teammate have equal responsibilities, and you start to see that 75% of the workload is falling on you. Now, the other person seems oblivious to this, and they're just being themselves, and there's nothing about it. And say you become frustrated with that because you feel like you're doing everything. How do you communicate that? And I'm sure that there's a lot of people that can jump right to conclusions and say, well, I'd say this or I'd say that. But what I'm talking about is communicating from a place where love and respect is maintained. You know, like, say that it's completely innocent. That happens to me often because it's like I will take things on, and oftentimes I really enjoy it. I enjoy being able to provide that that service. But then there are times when it's like, man, I can't always do that. I can't always maintain that pace. I can't always keep up like that, you know? So it's like, well, what do I do when I'm no longer the hero or the provider or the whatever? Who am I then, you know? Who am I when my body's like, hey, you need to slow down, you need to chill out? And that's an interesting space to develop, because it has a lot to do with how do I receive that support from others. Because it's a real thing. Like, I can't always give, you know? And so communication in that realm is like, that is one of my primary commitments to myself, is that I maintain that kind of communication. That communication that says, hey, this is my experience. Or it's more like, hey, I've been noticing some things that I'd really like to talk with you about. And, you know, like, I want to be responsible for this. I don't want to put that over there. but I see that I'm having a hard time here. And some of the things that are showing up for me is anger and frustration. And part of the reason why that's showing up for me is because I feel like I'm doing more of the work, and a lot of times, like, I'm fine doing that, but right now I don't know how to ask for help. And I've been getting angry because I feel like I need to ask for help and I haven't been. And so I'd really like to ask for help, you know, like I need your help. How do you feel about that? Have you been experiencing anything like this? You know, like, how do you have those conversations? And I think that there's a real art to that. And I'm grateful to be in partnership where not only is there a pull for those kinds of conversations, like that authenticity, but there's a mutual commitment to it. Like, we both are committed to that kind of communication. And the first rule to that, you know, or like guideline, if rule doesn't fit for you, is that you listen from a space of the other person's experience is their experience. And oftentimes what we're trying to get to is a common meaning. And sometimes that takes sifting through some of the emotionality. Sometimes that takes sifting through some of the drama and upset and, you know, all of that stuff that us human beings experience. And almost always, like, what I found is that below the surface is this real deep care, you know, this real deep, like, we can restore love through conversations like that, such that love can be present. Because when those things are going on, man, no love. You ever notice that? Like, something's bothering you, somebody, you know, you're feeling like, you know, all of a sudden they become like a horrible person, you know? All of a sudden they become like this monster that, you know, like, have you ever noticed that? Does that happen to anyone else? And it's, man, it's just freaking so funny. And it's not funny when it's happening, but man, like, afterwards, it's like, can you believe some of the stuff that we get upset about? And I think a big part, you know, is like just wanting to know that there's a mutual care. I think that reciprocity is like, there is no synergy without reciprocity. That free movement, you know, of energetic exchange happening back and forth. And different people are at different stages of the game, for sure. But it's like, for me, it's like, how do you develop that flow? And primary source communication. And even just like talking about it on here, it's already started to help disappear some of that, so that whatever needs to be communicated can be. So again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.